Gonna see how this one goes. We tried a little bit of international news last week with South Korea, and Ryan was not happy about that. So I'm gonna bring you this little bit of a story here. It does tie into America, so don't worry about that. I mean, because the organization is in America. I mean, it happens in New York City. We're going to talk about the UN for a second. And this article comes to us from The Independent, where we have two groups who have advocated against expanding rights and funding for women in the LGBTIQ, it says here in the article, community, are attending a United Nations meeting on women's rights on behalf of the United States. Just wait till you hear who these organizations are, because if you're wondering if our country and our government has stepped way beyond the pale when it comes to supporting ultra right-wing beliefs and, God country kind of separation that does not exist anymore, you're going to find out here really quick. So both groups were named by the U.S. State Department as part of the delegation to the 61st Annual United Nations Commission on the Status of Women taking place in New York this month. The Center for Family and Human Rights, which is CFAM, which is going to be abbreviated to for after this, is a think tank that has been labeled as a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. I mean, we're not talking about, anti-Islam people, so SPLC is still able to be taken very fucking seriously when it comes to what they label as a hate group. CFAM's aim is discrediting socially radical policies at the UN, as outlined in their mission statement. So their mission statement is discrediting socially radical policies. Code. That is all fucking code right there. And also, you're at the UN. I don't think you really have to... They pass like these non-binding resolutions, and they don't exactly... When's the last time you heard about UN peacekeeping forces? I mean, we might need them here in America here pretty soon, but seriously. So they often referred to... Sorry, I just got ahead of myself there real quick. These people have referred to gay marriage and gay people adopting people as truly harmful to society and to public health. Adopting a gay couple adopting a kid is harmful to public health? The fuck are these people talking about? Truly harmful to society. I get their society, it could be harmful, but public health, no. It's that whole fucking shitty argument that the Christians like to come up with all the time, where if people are getting gay married and gay people are doing things, there's going to be more AIDS. No. Or you're gonna make a kid go into that kind of lifestyle. No, come to find out, you can be raised by gay parents and come out pretty goddamn straight. All right, so anyway, the Heritage Foundation, boy, do we love those guys, does not advocate violence, nor are they called a hate group. They are often referred to as a right-wing and have published research reports citing the UN's, quote, misguided women's agenda. They're not in the kitchen making sandwiches, I think is what the UN, what the Heritage Foundation is upset about. They need to be pregnant, they need to be in the kitchen, and they need to be making these guys a goddamn sandwich. And so they also say that the UN Conventions on Women undermine family, religion, and sovereignty. It's the United Nations. You don't get to claim sovereignty when you're like a member of a group of, other nations trying to get together. You still get to keep your sovereignty because the UN's not saying, oh, you can't be a country anymore. They're just trying to say, let's come together and work on some shit together. And so these groups have also called for deep cuts in Mr. Trump's upcoming proposed federal budget, and we're going to get to that, meant to combat violence against women. So that's out the fucking window in this budget too, along with Meals on Wheels and a bunch of other things. So the Heritage Foundation wrote that funding these programs, the ones that combat violence against women, in their recent Blueprint to Balance report on their fucking website. Oh man, it's terrible. As a misuse of federal resources and a distraction from concerns that they are truly the province of federal government. I think that if there's a problem in your country with domestic abuse, it's absolutely the fucking federal government's purview to make sure that shit doesn't happen. Jessica Stern, executive director of Outright Action International, the people that are fighting these folk, told The Independent that Vice President Pence may have been the driver behind the group's placement on the U.S. delegation. Gee, you wonder the Christian Dominionist guys putting the Heritage Foundation at the fucking UN? Really? You don't have to have speculation. I will drive it home for you. Absolutely, it was Mike Pence. You think Trump actually gives a shit about this kind of thing? No, he doesn't give a shit about this stuff. So none of the final documents have been produced from the 2-week UN conference will be legally binding. Member countries could take the opportunity to outline their commitment to gender equality and human rights. You know, I'm for equality between women and men. I'm all for human rights. Not America anymore. Apparently, we're turning into Saudi Arabia. Isn't that going to be fun? So, Ms. Stern explained that the CFAM and the Heritage Foundation are going to be quite literally in the room where governments negotiate. Just think about that for a second. The Heritage Foundation. One of the most reprehensible fucking groups of people I've ever had the miss opportunity of even knowing about or talking about on the show. They're just reprehensible people. UN ambassador to the UN, U.S. ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, is going to serve as the head of delegation for the U.S. at the meeting and will likely interact with both groups' members. So she's going to have to play funnel for them. And boy, I would not want to be her right now. The mission to the UN couldn't be reached for comment. They will be there as advisors and to direct pressure on the U.S. delegation and will have unfettered access to the other countries' delegations as well. So they get to pay to play. I'm sure Pence took quite a bit of money from the Heritage Foundation. I would assume that they did. Most of the 8,000 registered non-governmental organization representatives attending the conference are not on country delegations and thus kept out of the negotiation rooms. That's the distinction that I want you guys to read about here, is that the CFAM and Heritage Foundation are going to be part of the governmental organizations, and they're going to be in the negotiating rooms. We have co-opted CFAM and Heritage Foundation into our government face to the UN. That's bad, folks. That's really fucking bad. So, Ms. Stern and other CSW attendees are perturbed by the decision to include the groups is that both Secretary of State Rex Tillerson and Ms. Haley upheld the, quote, the right to be free from discrimination as an American value. Yeah, we had them say this kind of thing. But you have the fucking Heritage Foundation going with you to the UN. Man. So many Americans have recently asked themselves, what does foreign policy matter to human rights at home? And now we have our answer, says Miss Haley. So, not Miss Haley. Yeah, Miss Haley. Richard Gowan, a resident fellow at New York's University Center on International Cooperation and extensive researcher of the UN, told The Independent that, to date, Nikki Haley has projected a very moderate persona at the UN, reassuring other diplomats that she won't force a strong right-wing agenda on the organization. Mr. Gowan noted that this may be a play to domestic political interest. It's all a game. You're going to have these guys go up there and be able to say their horrible shit, and they're going to have the video of it, and they're going to be like, look, we spread our message to the UN. Give us money, 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 money. So Miss Haley does need to reassure Republican base that she will stand up for their values in New York, too. Apparently, that's something that they feel like they have to do. Gestures like this will play very well with Congress and the GOP, even if they irritate the UN fans. When you're aligning yourself with people like Saudi Arabia, I mean, we should already have a bad image when it comes to the world. I mean, we've got Trump as president. Game over.